So, when you think of Harrison Ford, what comes to mind? Han Solo? Indiana Jones? Well, what if I told you the real secret to his success has nothing to do with acting? It's all about something called the Ford Principle.
So listen to this. This one idea is the key. The secret to Harrison Ford's insane success wasn't wanting it more than anyone else, it was needing it less. That's a total paradox, right? It flips the whole idea of ambition on its head. And it's the real reason Hollywood couldn't get enough of him. And that brings us to the core idea we're going to unpack today: professional detachment. I know, it sounds kind of weird, right? Counterintuitive? But for Harrison Ford, this wasn't about not caring. Oh no, it was a weapon, a fortress he built brick by brick to protect his self-respect and build a real legacy. All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to look at his reluctance weapon, then we'll explore the carpenter's fortress. After that, we'll dive into the builder's mindset, break down his system for truth, and finally crack the utility code that changed what a hero looks like. Okay, let's jump right in with part one, the reluctance weapon. This is all about how needing less actually gives you way more power. So get this, the year is 1976. George Lucas is casting this little movie called Star Wars, and Harrison Ford, he's not there to audition, no way. He's on set as a carpenter. He's literally there to install a door. He's got a toolbox in his hand, not a script. He's just there to do a job, not to chase the spotlight. And that one moment tells you everything you need to know about his power. He was a craftsman first, an actor second. And this is what we're calling the Ford Principle. Here's what it is, boiled down. It's the belief that your trade, that real tangible skill you have that's totally separate from your big dream, is your most lethal weapon. It's the thing that pays the bills, gives you self-respect, it's your escape hatch, your source of real power. For Ford, that was carpentry, plain and simple. And this really gets to the core of it, doesn't it? Real authority, it doesn't come from a red carpet or an award. True power comes from inside. It's having disciplined control over your own need. See, because Harrison Ford could always just go back to building cabinets, he never had to take a bad role, he never had to compromise, he didn't need them. And ironically, that's what made them need him. So how did he build this incredible mindset? Well, that brings us to part two, the carpenter's fortress. This is about how he forged his independence, his sovereignty, in the workshop. Look, before he figured this out, Ford was standing at a crossroads, looking at two totally different paths. On one hand, you had the contract player. This was the Hollywood route. He'd be a disposable face, taking soul-crushing parts, always begging for approval, just trapped by his need for a paycheck. But then there was the other path, the carpenter, a sovereign craftsman, someone who built their own dignity, was totally self-reliant, and found freedom in just being useful. He chose the second path, and it basically saved his career, and probably his soul. You can actually see this transformation play out over time. Back in the 60s, he was that disposable face, taking what he himself called garbage roles. Then, 1970, this is the turning point. He enters the forge. He literally teaches himself carpentry from library books. He's not just building furniture, he's building an internal fortress of self-respect. He's basically unlearning desperation. And of course, that leads to that legendary moment in 76 where his trade, his real job, put him exactly where he needed to be. And you know what's crazy? His motivation wasn't some grand artistic vision. It was simple. He just didn't want to be desperate anymore. Period. He had a family to support, and he refused to be a victim of the Hollywood machine. He just wanted to be useful. That's it. That one simple, powerful drive, it changed absolutely everything. Okay, so this whole experience, it wasn't just a side hustle. It became his entire philosophy. Which brings us to part three, the builder's mindset. This is how he took the logic of a workshop and applied it to the chaos of a movie set.
The way he operated was with something you could call radical pragmatism. It's a strategy that's just completely rooted in reality. It means you stop fantasizing about stardom and you focus on the practical craft, the utility of what you're doing. You focus on the work itself, on the pure honesty of the moment, until the character you're playing becomes so real, so undeniable, that nobody can ignore it. The work itself is the only boss.
You know, for him, all the glitz and glamour of Hollywood was just fake. It was a lie. A movie set wasn't some magical place. It was a construction site. A script wasn't high art. It was a blueprint. And acting? That was manual labor. It was about showing up on time, hitting your marks, and telling the truth. This builder's logic completely stripped away all the ego and just focused on one thing, what's real and what works.
But look, a philosophy is one thing. Putting it into practice is another. So let's get into section 4, a system for truth. How did Ford actually turn this builder's mindset into daily habits that gave us these iconic characters?
Well, he literally had a toolkit of techniques. First up, script distillation. If a line in the script felt phony or fake, he'd just cross it right out. He refused to say it. Now, that's not being a diva. It's a tool to force a more raw, honest, physical reaction. Then there's the Carpenter's audit. Think of it like a quality control check to make sure his own pride never got in the way of the scene's truth. And finally, foundational grounding. By living on a ranch in Wyoming, by flying rescue helicopters, he stayed connected to the real world, not the Hollywood bubble.
And all of this together created his signature style, what we're calling systematic underplay. It's this behavioral pattern where every single look, every gesture is a deliberate attack on overacting. It's all about delivering the biggest emotional punch with the smallest possible effort. It's the quiet confidence of a master carpenter, just translated for the big screen. And if you want the single greatest example of this in action, here it is: The Empire Strikes Back. You know the scene. Princess Leia finally pours her heart out, "I love you." The script said Han Solo was supposed to reply, "I love you too." But Ford knew that was wrong. It wasn't Han Solo. It felt fake. So he used his system. He distilled the script, ran his Carpenter's audit, and in that moment, he threw out the script and delivered the most honest, pragmatic, character-defining line imaginable. "I know." Just 2 words. That is the essence of systematic underplay, and it created one of the most immortal moments in movie history.
All right, this brings us to our final section, the utility code. This is where we tie his personal system into his global legacy and what it all means for you and me. So after all this, what was the big payoff? What did this whole experiment in professional detachment actually prove? He proved that the reluctant icons are the ones who last the longest. He completely shattered the myth that to be a star, you have to desperately want it. He showed us that a grumpy practical archaeologist or a cynical space smuggler could become the most beloved heroes of all time, for one simple reason. They weren't trying to be heroes. Their heroism was just a byproduct of them being useful.
And that's where the story stops being about him and starts being about us. Because it forces you to ask a really important question. What is your cabinet shop? What's that one skill, that one trade you have that has nothing to do with your main ambition? You know, the thing you can master that gives you real power, real freedom, a place to stand where you just don't need anyone's approval. So here's how you can build your own detachment using the Ford principle. First, find a skill that's totally separate from your big ambition. Then, commit to mastering it like a true trade. Use that foundation to gain the freedom and the power to say no. This is how you stop being a victim of whatever industry you're in and start becoming the master of your own legacy.
Look, in the end, this isn't about getting lucky or being born with some crazy talent. It's about a choice. And if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. Craft is a choice, and your utility, that's the code for your greatness. Go build your own cabinet shop, and you'll find you have the freedom to build whatever you want.